Hello, everyone, and welcome to Consumer Watchdog's Rage for Justice Report, where we gather each week to talk about the important topics of the day, and we launch a brand new year of exposing, confronting, and changing. So, Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Carmen Balber, as always, host of the podcast and executive director of Consumer Watchdog. And to start out the new year, we thought we'd talk about an issue that was one of the biggest news stories of 2020, not the coronavirus, but one of the others. And that will continue to be an urgent issue to be solved for consumers in the coming year. That is wildfires in the state of California and the strain that they're causing on access and affordability to homeowners insurance as the insurance industry is responding to the uptick in wildfires, not by helping us all reduce the risk that our home burns down, but instead trying to bail on entire parts of the insurance market. So here to talk about this is our founder and counsel, Harvey Rosenfield. Welcome back, Harvey.
Happy New Year, Carmen.
Happy New Year. So great to have you on the podcast to talk about this because it's a lot that's happened. And we should probably start with the big win in 2020, which was the fight in the legislature against insurance industry sponsored legislation that would have rolled back some of the key protections of Proposition 103. And the big piece, let me just pause there before you start, Harvey. It's the big piece I left out of your introduction was, of course, for those of you who don't know, Harvey Rosenfield was the author of Proposition 103, the insurance reform measure that passed in 1988 and gave us strong protections that ensure fair insurance rates in California. So with that said, Harvey, what was the big win in the legislature last year?
Well, excuse me, it was shaping up to be a big lose, right? The insurance industry, under cover of pandemic and the repercussions of the George Floyd murder, took advantage of the legislature being out of the building and operating virtually to try to pass a bill that would override the voters' passage of Prop 103. The insurance industry wanted to allow insurance companies to charge as much as they want for homeowners insurance and escape all the consumer protections that the voters put in place back in 1988 when the legislature, too beholden to the insurance industry, refused to take action in the middle of an insurance crisis, kind of like the one we're experiencing now with respect to wildfires. So I got to confess, we've never come so close to having the insurance lobby win the battle to undermine the voters in the last 30 years. But, excuse me, through a combination of really hard work on our part and some of the organizations around the state that we worked with, we were able to defeat that legislation. If it had passed, homeowners would have seen a 30 to 40% increase in their home insurance rates almost immediately. And many people who are having trouble already getting insurance for their homes and property wouldn't have been able to get it. So it was quite an amazing testament to the power of grassroots that Consumer Watchdog was able to muster, even though the legislature was operating in the middle of a pandemic, to stop the kind of cynical move by the insurance industry.
Big deal, big win for 2020. And there's another really good piece of news that came out of last year, and that was, I mean, we all know that last year was California's worst wildfire year on record. We had more acres burned than we ever had before, and that could have prompted a real crisis of homeowners insurance companies then deciding to not renew homeowners policies for people in those fire zones because we do not, as of yet, have protections that prevent those non-renewals. But the big news out of the Department of Insurance at the end of last year was that the insurance commissioner issued a moratorium on non-renewals of homeowners insurance for every homeowner in a fire zone that was hit by fires last year and every homeowner adjacent to a fire zone. So that moratorium on non-renewals affects approximately 2.4 million homeowners The vast majority of homeowners who live in or near a fire zone in the state of California, it's about 20% of the homeowners in the state. And what that does is really gives us a little bit of breathing room to put in place stronger protections to make sure the insurance industry doesn't, or enforce the protections we already have, I should add, doesn't just bail on the entire insurance industry in California. So that's what we're looking towards in 2021, putting in place these strong requirements that people are covered and that they're covered at a fair price. So there's a proceeding at the Department of Insurance that I'm involved in, Harvey's involved in, our allies in other consumer organizations are involved in, and that would address one of the key things that helps us prevent wildfires, which is home hardening and protecting homes from wildfires. So maybe you want to talk about that proceeding that started, Harvey.
Sure, Carmen. Well, this goes back to that legislative victory we had at the last minute last fall. We were just talking about this, defeating the insurance industry's attempt to eliminate consumer protections against higher rates. So after that occurred, and the insurance commissioner was deeply involved in opposing that legislation as well, the commissioner decided to open up an investigation heading towards creating new rules that would require insurance companies, for the first time in California, to reward people who take actions to protect their homes and property against fire hazards. So there are a bunch of things you can do. I mean, the science is not too difficult to understand. People could take actions like clearing the brush, making sure that their roofs are a proper combination of materials to fire resistant. These are simple actions that people can take. Sometimes they can be somewhat expensive, but until now, the insurance companies have refused to give people a discount when they take those actions. And this kind of, you called it home hardening or mitigation, these kinds of tasks could easily result in 10 to 20% reductions in people's premiums. And the Insurance Commissioner of California has vowed that he's going to pursue that now. And of course, the insurance industry is utterly against that. And really what this would mean, if we can get this regulation approved by the insurance commissioner, would be that people who are responsible and take care of their property and their homes will have the advantage of lower insurance prices. It's just the same way that as good drivers in California, people are entitled to a discount under Prop 103 if you have a good driving safety record. So the voters, when they passed Prop 103, created a law that incentivized individuals to avoid having claims, to avoid having accidents, to avoid having fire losses. And these mitigation discounts that the insurance commissioner is proposing would go a long way to relieving some of the pressure and pain that people are feeling around the state.
Well, and it makes so much sense because we've heard from, and I know the Department of Insurance has heard from, and our friends have heard from too many Californians who say, I spent all of this money cutting down trees and installing sprinklers and changing the vents so embers don't get in under the roof and clearing out the brush near my home and changing the roof to protect my home from fire. And then my insurance company said, well, I don't care. We're going to cancel your homeowner's insurance anyways. So it's such a critical protection. The industry should have done it on their own because it reduces the risk of fire. But since they're not, this regulatory proceeding is so important. So that's a big step forward that we're looking at for 2021. Good way to start out the new year. We should, before we close, talk about the big wish that the insurance industry tried to get through in that legislation last year, that they are still pushing very hard on the department to implement, and that is inserting big data into homeowners insurance and what we like to call black box models that insurance companies want to use to set your insurance rates.
So yeah, Carmen, this is as you say, this is what they wanted last year. There are two things that the insurance industry is gunning for. Proposition 103 requires insurance companies to open up their books and justify their premiums, whether it's auto, home, small business insurance. Well, the insurance companies want to get out of both of those things when it comes to homeowners insurance. They don't want to have to open up their books, and they don't want to have to justify the rates that they charge people. And the way they want to do this is by moving to what they call models, black box systems, as you described it, that have algorithms in it that the voters mandated should be made public, but the companies are asking for permission to keep them secret. And these algorithms would, quote, project what your chances are of having a fire come through your neighborhood and harm your home or property. And we're saying no. We're saying no. They have to. There's no justification for using a model when there's adequate data to predict a wildfire. And if they want to use a model, they have to show it really works. They have to open it up to the public scrutiny, make sure that the model is accurate and justified and won't overcharge people. And of course, the companies don't want to do that. But this is the quid pro quo they're going for in exchange for agreeing to do the mitigation discounts that the insurance commissioner wants to do. So they're trying to do what they always do. The insurance lobbyists are always trying to negotiate something that hurts people. And this is another example.
Well, and I can't get over the language that the industry likes to use on this. I mean, the modelers and the industry like to talk so much about how these catastrophe models are quote unquote science-based, which is it's so apt in this current COVID situation that we all want to be science-based, right? But in fact, it's science that they then put inside a little black hole, shake it around, throw in some things nobody else will ever see, and come out with the result that we can't check. And so we just think it's so important to put out a hand and say, hold on. If you want to use science, that's great, but we've got to see what that science is. So that is undoubtedly going to be part of the fight for fair insurance rates in the coming year. Absolutely. So thanks so much, Harvey. This is a great way to start the new year. Some new protections, but the battle continues. The battle's always going on, and it's great to have Consumer Watchdog there to be fighting for consumers. Always raging. So thanks everyone for tuning in. If you're a homeowner impacted by wildfires, or maybe you're facing insurance rate increases and you want to weigh in, we want to hear from you. Please go to our website and fill out a complaint form. We always want to hear from folks in the public who are impacted by the issues that we're working on. So let us know if you're a homeowner with an interest in this fight. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Carmen Balber, and this has been the Rage for Justice Report.